I think if you play video games as your main form of hobby, you'll always run into this one question: what do I play next? Do I buy something new? Or do I just finish what I started beforehand? Do I go back and play League of Legends? Or maybe should I go back to playing Honkai or Genshin Impact? The gaming industry is filled to the brim with content, and it becomes difficult to keep track of what we own, what we've played, what we've started, and overall it gets very overwhelming. As a result, it leads to the classic decision paralysis that plagues us all. So, I wanted to share how I keep track of what I'm playing and what I own physically in terms of video game collecting. So, I use Notion to track my video games. If you don't know what Notion is, I describe it as a productivity site, but it's customizable. You create these different pages and you can link them to other databases or pages, and just it's a very customizable website in terms of productivity. But I mainly use it as a way to store my tables because I'm very much an analog planner still. So this is what I'm looking at most of the time. This is my Backlog database. My cover is Dragon Age Inquisition, if you couldn't tell, and it's very blurry sadly, so I probably should replace this cover photo, especially with Dreadwolf maybe coming out in the future. Maybe, we'll see. So when I open this page, I am greeted with the in progress section. This in progress section hosts my on-hold games and my in-progress games. Currently, I'm playing Suzerain and Hades 2. Hades 2 I'll most likely put on hold eventually because I don't want to play through it too much considering that it's early access. Most of these on-hold games are stuff that I started but I stopped, and ideally I want to pick back up again. If I don't pick it up, I'm going to put it in my dropped section. I have a lot of categories because I personally like to have more categories rather than less. I'll go over these more after I go over the different views. So in Notion, you can have one database, which is, you can imagine as one Excel sheet, but you can have different views, which are different versions of that sheet. So the main sheet of this is the full game log. I have it organized alphabetically, and I only have it so it loads like the first 100, I think. Oops. And then I have not started and no plans to start, which seems redundant, but they're very different to me. I mean, just by the wording, you know. I didn't want them all to be put into a not started category. Next, I'm gonna go over what columns I keep track of. Obviously, the main important parts are the name, platform, and completion status. If you want to make your own sheet, this is like the most basic you can get with it, and probably the easiest way to track something like this. But I like to get a little more detail oriented, and I'm sure if you're doing sheets like this, you also like to get more detailed. So I also like to track developer, my most recent completion, rating, I have a cover here, and then the edition, and if I'm considering it a priority or not. This doesn't really matter in the full game log list, but I usually use this column in the in progress section. So, for example, when the Dragon Age Dreadwolf game gets announced, I'm going to be replaying Dragon Age Origins, and I will put that as like a priority in my list. And that's all the main things that I cover. Actually, I used to track more, but I downsized it a bit because now I use Backloggd to help track other stuff. But sometimes I'll add notes too, such as in Suzerain. I have notes on my first playthrough. And the notes here vary. It really depends on what game I'm playing, and sometimes I don't even use it. For edition, I track digital, if I got it through PS Plus, physical, or if it's borrowed. Borrowed is usually something I use through Steam Game Share. Now I want to go over the statuses and what I mean by them and why I track them. No plans to start literally means no plans to start. This is usually stuff I got for free via PlayStation Plus or Epic Game Sales. Any free promo really. It's something that I never had the intention to buy, but I have it tracked, you know? Beaten more content to me means DLC usually. If I want to play the DLC for a game, I will mark it as this, and usually I'll get back to it later. Dropped means I dropped it. That's pretty much it, and I have no plans on finishing it. I think I only have one game in this category, and it was a visual novel I really hated, and I don't think I will ever play it again. On hold is something that I started, but I dropped for whatever reason, but I want to get back to playing it eventually. Not started is something I haven't started, but I do want to play eventually. In progress, what I'm playing right now. Complete, what I've completed. And what I define as complete is rolling the credits and just doing what I define as complete for that certain game. I'm not an achievement or trophy hunter, so I'm not necessarily gonna mark that. I might overhaul stuff if I decide to get more into trophy hunting, but that's a big maybe, and that's gonna be a lot of work to change my sheets. As much as I am interested in doing achievement and trophy hunting, it's just a lot of work, and I'd rather like play the story casually and see what the developers intended for the most common audience rather than trying to 100% stuff. But as I said, I might get into it, might not. That's why I have complete and beaten more content versus like beaten or 100% and all that. If you watched my TikToks, you probably saw a glimpse of a little graph I used to have here. And the biggest con to me about Notion is that they don't have charts. And I don't know why they don't have charts yet. Notion, please add charts. And I had to get the chart through a third party, but recently it broke as soon as I wanted to make this video, which upsets me. But the reason why I have so many different statuses is also because I like how visually it looks in charts better. In tables, it does get a little bit messy, but it's whatever, I guess. I have to deal with it. Maybe I'll find a different third-party chart maker, but as of right now, I am chartless. So the highlight of why I use Notion in the first place is because I love the gallery view that you can make. As I said before, these are all different views in Notion. You can change how the data is displayed in the layout feature. So you can do table, board, timeline, calendar, list, or gallery. I love the gallery view for a comprehensive look at what I've played in the year. This is what I've currently beaten for 2024, and I like to have the title, the cover art, and the rating that I have, and I sort this by highest to lowest rating. And there's really not much to say about this view. I just love looking at it. It's fun to see the cover art all together, and I really enjoy it. It's really satisfying to me. Before I move on to my miscellaneous sections, I'll show the archive. So I started this in 2022, and you can see this is all from 2022. And then here's my statuses from 2023. So 2022, we'll let it sit here for a bit. And then 2023. I should add headings maybe to differentiate these better, but I'll worry about that later. I love how this looks. It's probably my favorite feature of this Notion page that I have. This in progress section and my completed board are my main things that I like to look at. I also track my live service games, but I barely use this if I'm being honest. I use my Genshin tracker the most, but that was when I was mostly farming for materials and I scheduled when I would farm for certain things. I think I was experimenting with the weekly layout, so here I had them manually created, and then here I had a board. I was farming for weapons at this time, and I still need to farm for these actually. My Honkai Star Rail sheet is mostly tracking characters I've built out, and like miscellaneous notes on their paths, types, roles, what they buff and debuff and all that stuff. I don't use this as much, but it's a fun reference to have for team building. This is my Sims 4 section. I think it's very fun. So I have my mod list. I have what's in use, last updated, not in use, last updated. And I'll just switch these around depending on whatever I take in and what I take out. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't played Sims in a while because I don't want to deal with my mod list, but I want to go back to it because I've been in a Sims craving for some reason. I also have a CC creator list. Feel free, to take a screenshot if you're interested. These are my favorite creators. I usually try to keep to a smaller, not a smaller amount. I try to keep to a smaller amount of creators just because anyone who downloads SimCC knows that it gets really crazy and organizing it becomes such a pain. So I really try to condense who I'm downloading from. And this, just a fun little glimpse, this is my legacy challenge. I didn't know how to do legacy challenges at the time, so I didn't name the legacy challenge off of my custom character. Instead, it was Paulo Roca, who, if you play Sims, is a pre-build, and they are pretty much like the bro archetype that constantly works out, but they hate working out, which I found was really funny. And I track the generations. As you can see, I track a lot. It's pretty much like it's a lot. It's a very extra, and I did try to track their races at first as much as you can with Sims, but then it started to get really crazy and I stopped that real quickly. Wow, this is a lot. Looking at this, you can tell I was very obsessed with this family, but I miss them and I want to go back to it. And maybe I will. Maybe I will if I really want to organize my mods and make sure nothing's broken. So I guess the main point of this video is, how do I decide what I want to play next? And since I have my sheets organized in the way I want them to, it's pretty easy for me to tell what I have on hold versus what I haven't started. These are what I'll mainly look at if I need help deciding on what I need to do, especially since I do want to prioritize what I've started and didn't finish, especially like Divinity Original Sin 2, Mass Effect Andromeda, Pathfinder Kingmaker. I really want to finish those. Sometimes I don't really feel like finishing what I've started, so I'll move over to what I didn't start, and I'll look through here and I'll see what I haven't played. And I do want to play Red Dead Redemption 2 one day, and this is a constant reminder that I need to play Red Dead Redemption 2, or even all the Devil May Cry games. Eventually, all the Yakuza games will be added on here because I want to buy those too. I've never been I don't know, desperate enough to go into the no plans to start list because it's pretty large. And I just, I'm not saying these are bad games, it's just stuff that I never really wanted to play and I just got through PlayStation Plus. But, but I've had Bloodborne for a while. That game I'm just too scared to play. I try to be flexible with myself though. If I want to buy a new game, I will, because I know I'll play through it right away, usually, most of the time. I'm not really the type to buy a game and let it sit for too long. And if seeing a long list stresses you out too much, it's easy to filter these so you condense it more. At the end of the day, we play games because we like to do it and we love to do it. And most of us aren't doing this for a job, so we shouldn't need to worry about logistics too much. This is just something I like to do. I love looking at sheets. I love looking at charts and seeing what progress I'm making in my collection. And if it feels like you're jobifying your hobbies too much, then don't do it. There's so many other ways you can track like what games you're playing. Besides this, I've also started using Backloggd, which I'll show in a bit. So this is Backloggd. It's a video game tracking site. You can say that it's sort of like Letterboxd, but for video games. And this is the home page. This is my current home page. And when you scroll down, you can see people that you followed or popular reviews for games. I use this for tracking my daily time spent on games. So this is my profile. Yes, these are my favorite games. I feel like I'm pretty basic, but yeah, I do love Dragon Age Inquisition. I know that's a hot take, but I still love it. So I use Backloggd to track my daily time spent on games. And as you can probably see, it says that I played more than what I completed on my Notion. And that's because this just tracks everything that you've played. It doesn't matter if you've completed it or not, but I really like Backloggd's journal aspect. So you can see by date. I'm gonna open up my Persona 3 reload log. There's gonna be very vague spoilers for this. I didn't want to add specific spoilers because I think these logs are public. But if you want to go in completely blind, just don't look at my notes at the bottom here. Yeah, you can go into specific games and see if you've completed, you're playing, backlog, wishlist, all that. And then it shows how many days it's been in the journal, your time played. I have it so that the time is played by my session logs, but these are sometimes adjusted. I did not play for 11 hours this day. And it has the first time you played and the last time you played. And I really enjoy seeing this detailed daily look on how much you've played a game and when you've started it and when you finished it, and like how many days it took you to finish it. I think it's very intriguing, but it's definitely a lot of detail. I originally wanted to use this because of the fact that Notion's charts are non-existent, but then I found out the charts here are non-existent because you have to pay or you have to be a backer to get the charts on this, which sort of sucks, but you can't have it all, I guess. Oh, I'll also post short snippet reviews on what I thought of the game. Some people on here will write extremely long, like novel-like reviews, and it's very entertaining. But it's definitely, it's just people. It's just normal people reviewing games, and it's sometimes really humorous, like with Letterboxd. So I just wanted to end this video back on my Notion page. I hope I was clear with how I track stuff and how I go about deciding what I want to play. Again, if this is too much for you, don't do it. No, not everything needs to be put into a sheet, but if you enjoy tracking stuff, I think Notion is a very fun way to go about it, especially if you want a more visual aspect to tracking your completed games. There's a bit of a learning curve to it, but once you get the hang of customizing stuff and making things look really cute, it's a very fun method to organizing your things. Again, for most of us, this isn't a job, but this is just a fun way to see the progress you're making in your personal collection, and also just seeing like patterns. It's fun to see patterns in what you like, whether you like stuff from a certain developer or a certain genre. I sort of wished I was tracking genre, but genres get so messy, and I feel like it would just get so much more cluttered in the sheet. And I think that's what Backloggd is good for, because you could see the different genres, but again, you can't really see charts in that if you're not a backer for the website. But the charts they do have, I saw, are very interesting, and maybe I'll become a backer one day if I'm desperate enough to see some charts. But if you do have plans on having a full log of your list on Notion, I would highly recommend exporting it. You go to the 3 dots at the top left and export it as a CSV every couple months or so. At the end of the day, Notion is just a website, and I would not even want to imagine what would happen if my Notion site got taken down or lost and all my data for my gaming sheets just got lost. It sounds like a horror story, but it can happen. These things are never permanent. Ideally, they would let us back up all our information before they shut down, but you never know. So it's always good to back up these type of things. If there are any questions, if there's something I wasn't clear about, please let me know. I feel like I might have jumped around a bit and I started rambling about certain things. I hope it was insightful to how I personally track my gaming habits. And I hope it wasn't weird. This is a very specific question, but if you watch towards the end, are you a Sims player? Do you like legacy challenges? If you do legacy challenges, do you also write paragraphs and paragraphs about your different generations? I think it's very interesting, and I think it's very fun to have the storylines for my generations linked out. And it makes me very attached to them, but I think the game is broken. For the people that don't play Sims, how do you track your games? Are you going to try Notion? Is this too much for you? I've been told that what I do is a bit much, but I don't think spreadsheets are that crazy. Sometimes. If you like this video, please like and subscribe for the next one. I'm probably going to have a review out next for either First Impressions of Hades 2 or Persona 3 Reload, because I just beat that game and it is amazing. I love it. And yeah, I have a lot planned, so we'll see what happens. Bye.